Okay, so I'd like to next invite Greg Thorpe, who's our Australian panel convener for C5.
Hey, thanks, Angela. Right. Yes, C5 is about getting paid. And I don't care what any of you say about the most important. But anyway, I promised myself I wouldn't use that joke yet again, but a few people before me left me no choice. Okay, so everyone knows that there is rapid change occurring. And it's with technology, policy, etc. Now those changes are stressing the payment mechanisms, both the market-based ones and the regulatory payments. And much of C5's work is prompted by making responses to those stresses. It's no secret that markets are ending up with not enough money, or the money going to the wrong places, etc. And the regulatory regimes are also struggling. And what we are seeing is quite a few of the jurisdictions in particular, and it's not only within the NEM, it's across Australia and it is international, where the jurisdictions are deciding we know how to fix this. And so what they do is they make ad hoc changes, and that is creating some chaos. And it is chaos being felt around the world. So that is the advantage of the C-grade community, for us being able to tap into how everyone else is responding to those. Now, I won't be able to show you too many photos because you'll be bored out of your brains by photos of new rules about how to respond to those. So the second point on this slide really is telling us all that the previous paradigms are no longer fit for purpose, and that's really being reflected in the payment mechanisms, and that's what we're on about, understanding, exploring and recommending different approaches. So the Australian panel, looking at these, the interesting thing is that we now have representation from each Australian state and New Zealand, which is not uncommon for some of our panels, and also from Singapore for the same reason. So we've got members who work across 6 of the existing and emerging markets, so there's plenty to learn from just the members of our panel. And we then use that to leverage into the international sphere. So the panel met in September as part of the Cairns Symposium, as many of the panels did. We'll be meeting again in mid-24 in preparation for Paris. So I'm not going to take you through this in any great detail, but it is a report on the 2023 meeting. The one thing that I thought was a successful thing to do was, because we were meeting in conjunction with an international meeting, I took the opportunity to put a noose around a couple of the international players, international members of C5, and just get them to come in and introduce themselves, and that gave an introduction to the Australian panel members who may not have seen too much of the international players. So I won't spend any more time on what we did back then. So move on to the working groups. We don't have a large number, but then less is better, you know the story. We have 6 active working groups, and the interesting thing there is that it covers the spectrum of a lot of those stresses that I talked about at the beginning. where there are new innovations, new technologies coming forward. Getting down into flexible demand response, EVs, local energy communities, hydrogen. I can see that moving into biogas in the near future, as some others have done. What are the regulatory regimes around the incentives for the useful life of assets? In the C2 portfolio, I hate the fact that if you're on a joint working group, it doesn't get counted as part of yours. So I'm the member on the joint working group with C2 on interventions. So that's coming up nicely as well. Right, so technical brochures, again reflecting the scope of the broad spectrum of stresses: carbon pricing, blockchain, wholesale energy price formation. Again, that's under significant stress around the world. Auction markets are, another way of getting the price, another way of procurement. And the same with the current working groups: flexible demand and the local energy communities. C5 papers from Australia, this is, accepted for Paris. So we have 3 papers and 3 authors busily working away now to meet the deadlines that Angela put up a short time ago. And there's another one there going, in fact, up in conjunction with the Dutch C5 panel, which will be a joint exercise on resilience, which has also had some coverage today. Right, the Large Disturbance Workshop. Who doesn't like a good disturbance? So that's been a popular event in Paris for, I forget how long it is, but it's 12, 13 years or so. Started by C2, C5 joined about 10 years ago. I think I've actually said 12 there, so it must be 12. So that the large disturbances that occur between Paris sessions get reported. A certain suspension of the NEM has figured in that recently. And I know that the convener of, or the chair of C2, the current was about to retire C2 chair. He's mad keen to present because Brazil had a whopper recently, so that'll be one of the items that's being presented. Very popular, 400 to 500 people in the room. Right, now the next few slides, the next few items that I want to talk about are just highlighting the nature of the work that is going on just within our panel and what we can learn from that and take forward, as I said, into the international sphere across the markets that we are dealing with. So New Zealand, we have our rep there, changed their pricing arrangements to be a 5-minute pricing arrangement, which we're used to. They've got new products for basically for DER. They've also had their problems with supply-demand balance and some network and battery type issues. The Darwin-Catherine system, after a bit of enthusiasm a few years ago, they've sort of gone into abeyance with how much progress they're making, but they are pretty focused on meeting a renewable mandate. And in my personal view, having done some work there, they're still struggling with how much they like open access and competition as opposed to central control. Interestingly, they have taken the steps so that their network regulation is handled by the AER, but all of the market trading is still handled locally. Singapore, A recent participant who's joined with us for the same reason that New Zealand is there, just in terms of numbers. They are very keen on their decarbonisation process, and the interesting thing there is there's been lots and lots of talk for years and years and years about, I can tell you can do that, Singapore, of course, has little scope for renewables. So what they've got is trying to look at where they can bring it in by different cables and connections from ASEAN countries, which will be mainly hydro. There's some other material there which the bell's going to stop me. Northwest interconnected system in the Pilbara, that is basically bedding down some changes that were made a couple of years ago. I'll again let you read there. The interesting thing is there that they have been the recipient of quite a bit of money from the federal government. People around the Swiss in the southwest are a little bit jealous of that. They're not getting any, but the northwest is. So Western Australia, they've made a number, in the Swiss down south, they've made quite a number of recent changes. That was in October this year. And again, I'm just not going to have much time to talk about it. So the two big things there are, they've also moved to 5-minute dispatch, and I want to look at the third dot point there, is that they've looking at what is called a world first in a rock-off market. Everyone talks about inertia markets, and they've done some work in that area. Major changes to their capacity mechanism. And they're looking at network investment, how to manage congestion, moved from constrained to unconstrained network. It's been quite a big change in the last few years, and in particular this last year. Australian NEM, I'm not going to spend much time on because of the bell, and I'll just say 2023 has been eventful, but no less, but a little less than 2022 for obvious reasons. We all know, I think, in this room some of the big changes that have been occurring there. I'll call out the change in the objective to introduce an environmental component into the objective. We're still waiting to see how that works out. Ben.